She married a prince, but his royal family had a shocking secret. Isabelle's reflection stared back at her from the gilded mirror, a princess. Or rather, a duchess, newly married to Prince Edward of Eldoria. Her satin gown felt like a cage, each shimmering bead a testament to the fairy tale she was now living, or at least, appearing to live. The castle loomed behind her, a gothic masterpiece of stone and shadow, and the air hummed with hushed voices and watchful eyes. She'd dreamt of this moment, of course. Every girl does, at least a little. But the reality was different. Edward was charming, undeniably handsome, but distant. AHisfamily, the queen, the king, the hand is the younger brother, Liam, regarded her with a mixture of curiosity and thinly veiled suspicion. Tonight was the royal ball, her official debut. As she turned away from her reflection, a shiver ran down her spine. It wasn't just the cold stone walls, it was a feeling, a sense of something hidden beneath the polished veneer of royalty. What dark secrets did the House of Eldoria guard? What lay behind the smiles? And more importantly, what had she unknowingly married into? The grandeur was there, but with the grandeur came the secrets. Isabelle Moreau was a commoner, a historian working in a dusty archive, piecing together the forgotten fragments of Eldorian history. Her life was quiet, predictable, filled with the comforting scent of old books and the satisfaction of uncovering lost truths. She had no grand ambitions, no desire for a life beyond the quiet corners of her world. Until Edward arrived. Prince Edward, the future king of Eldoria, was everything Isabelle wasn't: charismatic, worldly, and burdened by the weight of his royal destiny. He came to the archive seeking information about an obscure ancestor and found Isabelle. Their connection was immediate, a spark of understanding that defied their different worlds. He was drawn to her intelligence, her passion, her unpretentious nature. She was drawn to his vulnerability, his weariness with the endless charade of royal life. Their romance was a whirlwind, a secret courtship hidden from the prying eyes of the court. It was a modern-day fairy tale. Despite the disparity between their backgrounds, they bonded over a shared love of Eldoria's history, literature, and the importance of protecting its cultural heritage. He found solace in her company, a respite from the stifling expectations of his family. She found herself swept away by his genuine affection. The announcement of their engagement sent shockwaves through Eldoria. The royal family was, to say the least, displeased. The queen, a formidable woman with ice in her veins, saw Isabelle as an unsuitable match, a threat to the established order. The king, a more benevolent figure, seemed cautiously optimistic but ultimately deferred to his wife's judgment. Prince Liam, Edward's younger brother, was an enigma. His reactions to Isabelle's presence were hard to read. Isabelle knew that marrying Edward meant entering a world of privilege and power, but she was unprepared for the intricate web of politics, tradition, and hidden agendas that permeated the royal court. It was a world where every smile was calculated, every word carefully chosen, and every action scrutinized. A world where she felt like an outsider, constantly judged and measured against an impossible standard. During the royal ball, amidst the swirling gowns and glittering jewels, Isabelle overheard a hushed conversation between the queen and her advisor, Lord Harrington. They were speaking in low tones, their faces grim, about a legacy and a burden that Edward was not ready to bear. "He cannot know the truth," the queen hissed, her voice sharp and unforgiving. "Not yet. It would break him." "But, Your Majesty," Lord Harrington protested, "the prophecy, it must be fulfilled. We cannot risk the consequences." "We have time," the queen insisted. "Isabelle is a distraction. She will keep him occupied until we are ready." Isabelle's blood ran cold. Prophecy? Legacy? What were they talking about? What truth was Edward being shielded from? And why did she, his wife, feel like a pawn in their twisted game? Later that evening, while dancing with Edward, Isabelle tried to broach the subject. "Your mother seemed concerned tonight," she said, her voice carefully neutral. "Is everything all right?" Edward's expression clouded over. "It's just royal business," he said dismissively. Nothing for you to worry about. But Isabelle pressed on. I overheard them talking about a prophecy, a legacy. Edward, what is going on? Edward stiffened, his grip tightening on her hand. Isabelle, please, he said, his voice pleading. Trust me. Some things are best left unsaid. His evasiveness only fueled her suspicions. She knew that whatever secret the royal family was guarding, it was dangerous, and it somehow involved her. She had to uncover the truth, not only for her own sake, but for Edward's as well. She wasn't sure what they were hiding, but she knew she wanted to know. Determined to uncover the truth, Isabelle began her investigation into the archives she knew so well. She pored over ancient texts, royal genealogies, and forgotten histories, searching for any clue that might shed light on the Queen's cryptic conversation. She confided in her old friend and mentor, Professor Davies, seeking his guidance and expertise. He was hesitant at first, warning her of the dangers of meddling in royal affairs, but ultimately agreed to help, recognizing the urgency in her voice. Professor Davies directed her to a hidden section of the Royal Library, a collection of forbidden texts and occult manuscripts that were kept under lock and key. Using her knowledge of the castle's layout and her skills as a historian, Isabelle managed to gain access to the restricted area. There, she discovered a shocking truth about the House of Eldoria, a centuries-old secret that had been carefully guarded for generations. The royal family was not simply a line of monarchs. They were the keepers of an ancient power, a magical force that protected Eldoria from a dark and malevolent entity. The power was passed down through the royal bloodline, but it came with a terrible price. Each generation, one member of the royal family was chosen to serve as a vessel for the power, a sacrifice to ensure the safety of the kingdom. Isabelle realized that Edward was the next in line to bear this burden, a fate he was completely unaware of. The Queen was deliberately keeping him in the dark, fearing that he would reject his destiny and jeopardize the entire kingdom. But there was more. The prophecy foretold that the vessel would only be able to contain the power if they were of pure heart and willingly embrace their fate. If the vessel was unwilling, the power would corrupt them, turning them into the very evil they were meant to fight. Isabelle knew she had to warn Edward, to give him a choice, even if it meant defying the Queen and risking the wrath of the royal family. She sought out Prince Liam, hoping to find an ally in her quest for the truth. Liam had always been enigmatic, his loyalty to his family unwavering, but Isabelle sensed a hidden conflict within him. At first, Liam dismissed her concerns, accusing her of being paranoid and delusional. But Isabelle persisted, sharing the evidence she had uncovered, appealing to his sense of justice and his love for his brother. Finally, Liam relented. He confessed that he had long suspected something was amiss, but he had been too afraid to question his mother's authority. He agreed to help Isabelle, risking his own life to uncover the truth. Together, they confronted the Queen, presenting her with their findings. The Queen, cornered and desperate, refused to admit the truth. She accused Isabelle of treason, ordering the guards to arrest her. Liam, torn between his loyalty to his mother and his conscience, made a choice. He stood by Isabelle, defying the Queen and declaring his support for his brother. A fight ensued, and during the confusion, Isabelle and Liam managed to escape, determined to find Edward and reveal the shocking secret that threatened to destroy him. Isabelle and Liam found Edward in the royal chapel, preparing for a ceremony that he believed was a simple tradition. They burst in, breathless and desperate, just as the Queen arrived, accompanied by her guards. "Edward, you must listen to us," Isabelle pleaded, her voice trembling with urgency. "Your mother is hiding something from you. Something that could destroy you." The Queen stepped forward, her eyes blazing with anger. "Don't listen to her, Edward," she said. "She's lying. She's trying to turn you against me." Isabelle and Liam presented their evidence, laying bare the centuries-old secret of the House of Eldoria, the magical power, and the sacrifice that awaited Edward. Edward listened in stunned silence, his face pale with disbelief. He turned to his mother, his eyes filled with hurt and betrayal. "Is it true?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. Have you been keeping this from me? The queen, her facade finally crumbling, confessed the truth. She explained her reasons, her fear that Edward would reject his destiny, and her belief that she was protecting him. Edward was devastated. He felt betrayed by the very people he had trusted most, burdened by a fate he had never chosen. "I can't do this," he said, his voice filled with despair. "I'm not strong enough. I don't want this power. I don't want to sacrifice myself." The queen's eyes hardened. "You have no choice, Edward," she said. "It is your duty. The fate of Eldoria depends on it." Isabelle stepped forward, her voice filled with conviction. "Edward does have a choice," she said. "He has the right to decide his destiny, and we will stand by him, no matter what." She reminded Edward of his strengths, his compassion, and his unwavering sense of justice. She told him that he was more than just a vessel for power. He was a good and kind man, and that was what truly mattered. Inspired by Isabelle's words, Edward made a decision. He would not blindly accept his fate. He would find another way, a way to protect Eldoria without sacrificing himself. He challenged his mother, demanding that she reveal the source of the magical power, the entity that threatened the kingdom. He vowed to find a way to defeat it, once and for all. Together, Isabelle, Edward, and Liam embarked on a perilous quest, seeking ancient knowledge and forgotten artifacts that could help them defeat the dark entity. They traveled to remote corners of Eldoria, consulting with wise elders and uncovering hidden truths. They faced dangerous trials and overcame seemingly insurmountable obstacles, their bond strengthening with each challenge. Isabelle's knowledge of Eldorian history proved invaluable, guiding them to the right places and helping them decipher ancient texts. Liam's skills as a warrior and his knowledge of the castle's defenses were essential in protecting them from the Queen's forces. Finally, they discovered the source of the power, an ancient artifact hidden deep within the earth that had been corrupted by darkness. They learned that the only way to defeat the entity was to purify the artifact, to restore it to its original state. The task was fraught with danger. The entity would fight back, using its power to corrupt and destroy. They had to be strong, both physically and mentally, to resist its influence. They returned to the royal chapel, where the artifact was kept, prepared for the final confrontation. The queen, desperate to maintain control, stood in their way, wielding the full force of her magical power. A fierce battle ensued. Edward, drawing on his inner strength and fueled by his love for Isabelle, fought valiantly against his mother. Liam, risking his own life, protected Isabelle from harm. In the end, it was Isabelle who found the key to victory. Using her knowledge of the artifact's history, she discovered a hidden passage, a way to bypass the Queen's defenses and reach the source of the darkness. She confronted the entity, not with force, but with compassion. She reminded it of its original purpose, its role as a protector of Eldora. She appealed to its goodness, its inherent desire to serve the light. Her words resonated with the entity, breaking through the layers of corruption. Slowly, painfully, the artifact began to purify itself, releasing the darkness and restoring its original brilliance. The Queen, witnessing the transformation, was overcome with remorse. She realized the error of her ways, her misguided attempt to control fate. She relinquished her power, surrendering to the will of the people. With the artifact purified, the dark entity was defeated and Eldoria was safe. Edward, no longer burdened by the weight of the magical power, was free to rule as a just and benevolent king. He abolished the tradition of the sacrifice, declaring that the future of Eldoria would be built on freedom, equality, and compassion. He married Isabelle, not as a pawn in a royal game, but as his equal, his partner, and the love of his life. Together, they ushered in a new era of peace and prosperity, their love story becoming a legend, a testament to the power of truth, courage, and the unwavering belief in the goodness of humanity.